Good afternoon, friends. Honorable Minister is already here. Please be seated. Good afternoon to my friends from media. We have with us Honorable Minister for Power and NRE, Shri Singh ji, Secretary Power, Shri Alok Kumar ji, Secretary MNRE, Shri Bhupinder Singh Bhangla ji, and Shri Pankaj Agrawal, who is currently the OSD in the ministry, but soon going to take over as Power Secretary, and senior officers from both the ministries. Friends, we have seen some transformational changes in power and new and renewable energy space in last few years, which are reflected in critical outcome indicators that you have been following. They have been underpinned by major reforms, and they have put India on a trajectory of future growth. We will have opening address by Honorable Minister, and this would be followed by a short presentation by Secretary Power and Secretary MNRE, and thereafter Honorable Minister would be happy to answer to your questions. So, sir, I would request Honorable Minister to make his opening remarks, sir.
Thank you, Alok. From 2014 till date, our government has totally transformed the power sector. Total transformation in all aspects and unprecedented. Now, we used to be deficit. The gap between demand and supply ranged from 8.5% in 11-12 to about 4.2% in 13-14. Today it is at 0.2%, which is the technical minimum. Technical minimum because in a huge network, a countrywide network of transmission and distribution, despite the fact that we have upgraded both transmission and distribution, there are some local faults or some congestion here and there which gets corrected, some interruptions. That accounts for the 0.2%. Otherwise, the shortage is virtually nil. We've added about 186,000 megawatts today from 2014 till date. Today, our installed capacity is 416,000 megawatts or 416 gigawatts. The total demand has gone up to 223 gigawatts. The transmission, so this is as far as generation is concerned. And we have capacity under construction. About 27,000 megawatts of thermal under active construction, about 24,000 megawatts of thermal under surveys, investigations, pre-construction stage before being bid out for construction. You can, you can take this entire quantum as under construction, 51,000 megawatts of thermal under construction. We have almost about 120,000 megawatts of capacity in the renewables which are either under bid or which are under active construction. So we are prepared also for the increasing demand. The great thing is that our demand is increasing. It increased by almost 8% in the previous year. This year, in the first quarter, we saw an increase of almost 10%. And we believe that this will continue increasing. So we are adding capacity for the demand, for the increasing demand. Adding capacity by itself is not sufficient. We added 197,000 circuit kilometers of transmission lines. I mean, as I said, the power sector is totally different. Now we've connected every corner of our country into one grid, with one grid, running on one frequency, and with one national load dispatch center, capable of transferring 112,000 megawatts from one corner of the country to another. So there is no congestion. We have 3 exchanges, now we are coupling those exchanges. And today you can sell power from any corner of the country to any other corner of the country. There is no congestion. We have united the country into one market. One market. You can generate anywhere, sell anywhere. In order to further simplify matters, we've introduced the general network access. It's totally different from the way business used to be done in the past. In the past, you are a generator, you want a connection, you want to get connected, you will have to first, you have to declare that, okay, I'm setting up my plant in Chhattisgarh, I'll be supplying to Uttar Pradesh, I'll be supplying to Haryana, Punjab, and then you would be given connectivity for supplying to Uttar Pradesh and Haryana and Punjab, etc. Gone. Now the grid is one. So we have introduced the general network access. You get connected to the grid. And thereafter, you can sell today to Tamil Nadu, tomorrow to Haryana, day after tomorrow to Assam. Anywhere, you can sell anywhere. We don't ask you where you are going to sell because this is one market. And we don't ask you as to, we don't ask the, consumers or the discoms or the entities, consuming entities as to where they are going to buy from because this is one market, general network access. And this is unique. This is unique. If you apply for connectivity today, if you don't sort of get it in 50, 60 days, then somebody has to answer to me. In developed countries, it takes almost 1.5 years, 2 years to get connectivity. That's how different we are. And our transmission has some of the most advanced elements in the world. 765 HVDC, etc. Now 800. We are also experimenting with 1200 HVDC. That's some of the most advanced elements in the world, which has enough SATCOMs and mechanisms to take the load of the huge renewable energy capacity which we are putting. We spent 2,01,000 crores, or 2,10,000 crores, 2.1 lakhs, on strengthening the distribution systems under Deen Dayal Gram Jyoti Yojana, IPDS, Saubhagya. We constructed 2,900 plus new substations. We upgraded 3,980 odd older substations. We added or replaced 6.5 lakh circuit kilometers of HT lines and about 2.5 lakh circuit kilometers of LT lines, 112,000 circuit kilometers of agriculture feeders, 7.5 lakh transformers. That's what we did. The net result of all this has been that the power availability in rural areas used to be about 12 hours in 2014. Today it is 21 hours, varying from 21 to 22. Last year it had gone up to 22.5. This year I noticed that it's about 21 approx. In rural areas. In urban areas, 23.5 hours. This includes everything. This includes Arunachal, this includes Jammu Kashmir, wherever, the whole country. This is the average for the whole country. If there is any load shedding, we ask questions. This is a new India. We ask questions. We got information about load shedding in some cities in Uttar Pradesh, and we are asking questions. We have made it a right. Could you imagine any past power department making this a right? Continuous 24/7 electricity is your right. So nobody can do gratuitous load shedding. We have come out with rights of consumer rules. Now, rules are law. If anybody violates it, there are penalties. And if any DISCOM does any gratuitous load shedding, then they have to pay a compensation to the consumers. In order to make sure that the consumers are aware of this, we are coming out with public notices. Abhi niklega 3-4 din mein? 3-4 din mein you will see it. The rules came out, I think, almost a year back. Year back. Lekin, I found that the compensation paid and claims, etc., is not happening. So I said that let's inform the people about their rights. That's what we are going to do. This is notice. This is not an advertisement. And mechanisms have been set up in every division and every circle where you can go and complain if you don't get your compensation. A total transformation. Total transformation. In order to ensure that, let me cover the renewable energy first. Then we come to, come with the common elements of the system. But before we go to renewable energy, there are a couple of things more which I want to tell you. Viability. A huge challenge. What were the challenges? What are the challenges? The challenges are that some short-sighted politicians use freebies in order to get votes. They don't pay for the freebies from their pocket, or their party doesn't pay for it. It's the taxpayer who pays for it. So when they say that we give free electricity, it's actually the taxpayer who's giving the free electricity. But he gets to take the credit, and he gets to get the votes. Free electricity. Subsidies announced and implemented, because most of the DISCOMs are government DISCOMs, and not paid. Therefore, DISCOMs in a huge loss. Government departments consuming power, not paying. So DISCOMs in a huge loss. Right? We've changed all that. We've changed all that. Now, we put in place a system whereby, I keep saying that fine, you can give free electricity to everybody for all I care. But if you are taking electricity from an interstate power generating system, then you have to pay. If you don't pay, the power will get cut off automatically. And it's automatic. I can't intervene. When it first happened, 12, 13 DISCOMs got discussed. Sorry, nobody can intervene. Nobody can intervene. We made it automatic. The system shuts you off, cuts you off from the exchange. First, your short-term access goes for no exchange. Then, if you delay by a further 30 days, 10% of your long-term access goes. Now, access going means that you are not only not able to buy power from the person you did not pay to, you cannot buy power from anybody else. If your long-term access is reduced by 10%, or if your short-term access goes, you can't buy a short-term reduced by 10%. That's what happens. So everybody started paying. Today, only sector, I believe, where all current bills, 1,000 crores. Will first have to go to meet the legacy dues. But we made a system of installments, paid first. So for your convenience, we are making it in installments. We made installments, reasonable installment. So first you pay the legacy dues installment, and then you pay the current dues. If you don't pay either or both, then your power gets cut off. It can't happen that you pay current and don't pay legacy. Because if you pay current and don't pay legacy, what happens is that the current payment goes against the legacy. So you are still the defaulter, you're off. So you have to pay both. Now the legacy overdues have come down from 1,35,000 crores to 75,000 crores already in a matter of about 6-7 months. All my DISCOMs are now viable, everybody. We said, we revised the prudential norms. We said that number one, and we also made assistance from Government of India conditional. We said that you can't take loans from either PFC or REC, and I wrote to the Governor RBI, I spoke to him twice, thrice, and this has been introduced in all the banks also. I said that how can any financial institution lend to any entity which is making losses, until and unless it puts in place measures to reduce those losses. Otherwise, how will they repay? And those measures have to be underwritten by the state government. So that's what happens. You want a loan, you work out a mechanism for reduction of losses, and then you get your state government's commitment to it, then you file it, and then we monitor it, number one. Number two, you want assistance from our RDSS, whatever. Again, you have to give us a trajectory for loss reduction and adhere to it. The government dues have to be paid up front in both cases, totally. There's a third instrument. I made 2 or 3 presentations before the Finance Commission, and the Finance Commission was very kind. They made a provision that there can be an extra borrowing window for the states. That's a great thing for them, if they adhere to the power sector reforms as mandated by the central government. So all these requirements are mandated in all these 3 things. And if you miss, then you miss all these. You can't sort of get it. That is as far as this is concerned. Viability, I'll tell you an overall, because I see Alok Mishra getting edgy, probably he's running out of time. Are you running out of time? Yeah. So relax, you can have a late lunch. Now, I hope we are giving some tea, etc. to them. Lunch hai, chalo. So now the net, I'll tell you the overall. The overall impact has been that the AT&C losses have come down from 22% to 16.4 odd percent, about near a drop of almost 7%. That the ACS ARR gap has come down from an average of 85 paise in 14, 15, 15, 16 to 15 paise. 15 paise. All government departments pay their dues. We are putting all government departments on prepaid. That is also a condition, so that it's a no-brainer that you have to pay, the power will switch off. In many states, in many departments, power is switching off if the undersecretary forgets to pay. The subsidies are up to date. We have put in place a mechanism for energy audits, so that the subsidy is actually calculated accurately, depending upon the number of units supplied to the subsidized category. So it can't be, any wishy-washy, everything. Total accounts, fair to both parties, the state government and the DISCOM. And the subsidy is paid up to date. In fact, in many months the subsidy is overpaid. Why? Because some legacy dues are being paid. So by and large, the subsidy payment is near 100, 101, 102%. That's what we've done. Total change. And renewables. We have to emerge today as the fastest growing renewable energy capacity in the world outside of China. And we'll continue to be that. We had pledged that by 2030, and this is us, this is India, mind you. And we are number 1. And we shall continue to be number 1. We are the only country which achieved its NDCs 9 years in advance. We had pledged that by 2030, 40% of our capacity will be non-fossils. At that time, people thought very rationally that is a tall order. We achieved that in 2021. And today we are at 42%. Our renewable energy capacity is almost about 183 gigawatts. If you talk non-fossil, it's about 184 gigawatts. And non-fossil includes nuclear. And as I said, I have almost about 124 gigawatts under various stages, bids and active under consideration. We've not only achieved that NDC, we've achieved the other NDC. The other NDC was that we shall reduce the emissions intensity of our economy by 33% by 2030. We've already done it. We did it in 2021. Despite the fact, and all this, so, all my interlocutors from other countries, when they discuss with me, they are by and large, sort of already impressed by what we have done. So nowadays, nobody lectures to, I lecture to them. Now the traffic has changed, so they find it very difficult to converse, because I lecture to them that I have done it, what have you done? We have a scheme, Perform, Achieve, Trade, That has resulted in a reduction of CO2 emissions by what, 106 million tons, Alok? Our Ujala has resulted in a reduction of emissions, CO2 emissions by 100, but this is per annum, mind you, about 103, 104 million tons per annum. Our program for the appliances, the star rating program, has resulted in reduction of reduction of CO2 emissions by 53 million tons per annum. So as I said, we've achieved our second NDC also. Therefore, we are one of the few countries which advanced our goals in Glasgow. That's where we are at. And then we've launched new initiatives. Offshore wind, we are going to come out with bids. Hydrogen, green hydrogen. Already about 3.5 million tons of green hydrogen projects have been announced at different places in the country. Again, we are going to be a leader. We have already emerged as a leader in green hydrogen. And we are batting for totally green hydrogen, mind you. The so-called developed countries, now they are hedging. They say total green, also allow low carbon hydrogen. So my take on this is, what do you mean by low carbon? If you have to get to net zero, there is no such thing as low carbon. It has to be zero carbon. Because we have an advantage. We have in place an ecosystem for renewables which gives us an edge insofar as manufacturing of green hydrogen concerned. We have built an ecosystem which is large, which is huge, one of the largest in the world. So that ecosystem helps me to keep my prices of green hydrogen and green ammonia low. And we have the land, we have the sun. So my price of green hydrogen and green ammonia will be one of the lowest in the world. Some trade barriers have started coming up in some developed countries, so that we'll be aware of. But let's not talk about that today. Now, as I said, the secretaries will make the presentations, detailed presentations. Thereafter, you can ask questions. Let me not hog all the time. In short, we've changed the power sector. We've put in place mechanisms which were unimaginable. For example, we've put in place a mechanism for open access for renewable energy. Now, open access is total open access. So we have told the industry, I have written individually to every major industry captain that now is the time for you to go green. Here is what I am providing you. You set up capacity anywhere in the country, renewable energy capacity. And we will give you free transmission to your factory, wherever it is. Now go green. Provided you set it up before 2025, you will get, if you set it up before 2025, you will get total free, 100% free. If you set it up by 2026, you will get 75% of your transmission free for 25 years, So they are now going green. Nobody would have thought about it. My industry is going green. Now the new RPO which we are coming out with obligates, of course, all the DISCOMs. It also obligates all industries which are dependent upon captive power plants. They have to go green, and they have to follow the RPO. Now, the penalties for not following the RPO are going to be heavy. Of course, you can buy RECs, but if you don't buy if you don't meet your RPO, suppose I'm an industry with a captive, and today the RPO is 24%. 24% of my industry, or I'll buy the RECs, equivalent to that. And the penalty is twice the price of the REC. That's what we have thought about. So that it actually bites. Okay, Alok?
Yes, thank you,
so
sir.
You can,
thank you, sir,
go
for
to
laying
next
that
stage.
broad canvas, sir. Sir, I'll request Secretary Power to make the presentation. Yes. Please display the first presentation.
एक मेन बात तो हमने कही. Can you imagine a country which almost about 68, 69 years, 70 years after independence still had thousands of villages and hundreds and thousands of majras, tolas, whatever you call it in your state, without electricity? We connected each and every village. And I'm proud of the fact that I did it in lesser time than the Prime Minister managed. He said 1,000 days, I think I did it in 900 and how many? 83 days or something like that. Every village, every majra. And connected every home. 29 million homes in 19 months. Universal access. No other country has done it. Chalo.
Friends, we have a brief presentation. Some points have already been covered by the Honorable Minister, so I will quickly pass those slides. So these are the figures which how the installed capacity has grown, and in the green bar you will see the peak demand met. It has gone from 130 gigawatt to 223 gigawatt. Next. Who is operating the slides? Yeah. Yeah. This is the graph which Honorable Minister was mentioning about the energy shortages in the country. How, in what manner they have gone down, and they are now still almost tending to 0%.
From 17 onwards, it has been less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Sir.
17 onwards.
Next slide. These are the losses. You can see the sharp reduction in the last 1 year after the RDSS was initiated. And let me also add that the initial projections which you have got, these losses will be around 13.5% in this financial year, the FY23. We are now compiling those figures.
That used to be a dream.
Yeah. So coming down below 15% at All India level is a much awaited thing. Next. This is the, which Honorable Minister was mentioning, the sharp reduction in the gap between the average cost of supply and average revenue realized. It was 84%, but in the range of 60-70 paisa per unit. It's gone down to 15 paisa per unit in one, and most of it has come because of the pressure of RDSS. They have paid subsidies and government dues, the state governments, most of it. Some efficiency improvement has also come through milling efficiency. This is the figures which we want to showcase here, that the overdues are the one which remain after the payment of current dues. So it is not that, see the overdues which were 1,39,000 crores when this LPS rules were published. Now they have, in 1 year, they have come down to 75,000 crores. But mind, in this 1 year, close to 4 lakh crore has been paid by in the current dues. So this reduction is over and above that 4 lakh crore. Next. Next. Some of the major reforms, next slide, have been mentioned by Honorable Minister, but I would like to elaborate on this. Number 2, RDSS is a very major flagship program which the Government of India has brought in. It has 2 major objectives. One is making the distribution business viable, loss reduction, and second objective is for the modern India, the reliable supply of electricity, because we have to improve our supply, not only in number of hours, but also interruptions and the duration of interruptions. So we have already sanctioned about 1.19 lakh crore of works in the first tranche to the states, and more than 65,000 crores works have been awarded. So you will see in the next about 1.5 year to 2 years, all these works getting executed, and not only they will reduce to reduction in technical losses, reduction in theft, but they will also lead to significant improvement in the quality and reliability of power supply. The third point is also very significant. The Government of India believes in competitive markets because the competition leads to benefit to the consumers. So this real-time market is one which has taken away states from the unscheduled draw from grid, and now they can buy in the market even 1.5 hours before the actual gate closure. And real-time market now is very popular, and now DISCOMs are now very market savvy. They are putting bids in 1.5 hour gap, and they are buying powers. Green day-ahead market is a big success, and it is also a very big assurance to the investors in green energy that they can also have the alternative means to set up their capacities in advance as merchant power plants, and till the time they have PPA or they don't want to have PPA, they can go and sell in the exchange. Let me share the data that generally the cost of generation is in the range of 2.5 rupee to 3 rupee, but the average market clearing price in the green day ahead market has been more than 5.5 rupee. So there is a lot of incentive to come to the market and sell their power. General network access is, as the Honorable Minister has said, is the one of the major reform in India's power sector. Now, everybody is assured, the generators are assured of connectivity, and states are assured of their general network access. And I'm very happy to share that for the past about 3 years, there is almost nil congestion in Indian grid. So now our grid is so robust that we can migrate to GNA, because it was impossible to think of GNA unless the grid is strong, because you are now guaranteeing that you can sell power to anybody today and somebody else. But your grid should be capable of those change in flows. That has happened because the government in the last 9 years has added, as mentioned by Minister, about 1.9 lakh circuit kilometer. So expansion of grid and connecting all the 5 regions is the foundation for bringing in the GNA. Otherwise, it would not have been possible. The green open access rules is a success, and now we are receiving close to 400 applications every week, and these are now national portal, which NLDC is monitoring. There were 4 states which were not sanctioning applications, so when we issued their show cause notices, all those 4 states have come on board. Now they are sanctioning application as per the new rules. Next. The Parliament has passed the amendment to Energy Conservation Act. Who is operating the presentation? Yeah, so India will have its own carbon credit market. The draft notification was floated, comments have come, it has been almost finalized, and we are hopeful that in next 1 or 2 weeks you will see the final design and the architecture of the Indian carbon market. The number 10, rules to enforce timely payment of subsidy, I would like to mention. The subsidy paid in FY22 was close to 1,30,000 crores, and 104% was the payment. In FY23, it is 1,52,000 crores, and 107% of the subsidy due. So all these measures of the rules and the RDSS scheme, additional borrowing conditionalities, is showing very significant results in achieving these milestones. Next slide, please. I will quickly go over, mention that the proof that India is surplus is that now we are net exporter. Whatever we import from Bhutan, more than that we export to Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan, and we are net exporter now. The average hour supply that has been already mentioned by Honorable Minister. Next slide, please. This already mentioned, so this only the 3.2 I will mention. It is an exercise of more than 1 year that this transmission system plan for integrating 500 gigawatt of fossil fuel, mostly non-fossil, rather renewable energy by FY30 has been released last, I think, 3 months ago. And this is the assurance to the investors in renewable energy that they are assured of the evacuation in time. And in fact, we have made one announcement, and it's an open challenge that any renewable energy developer can give its application for connectivity by 30th June 23, and we are guaranteeing him that you will get the connectivity and line will be ready by 30th June 25. You will get the full waiver of the ISTS charge. So we have come out with a open challenge to the developers that, okay, here is the connectivity, apply, and we guarantee you by in 2 years you will get the line. And so they need not worry about the connectivity and the transmission line. Next, please. In this slide, I like to, no, just go back. I like to go back, please go back. This 1000 megawatt hour battery storage project is, let me announce, it is one of the top 3 projects in the world. The other projects are also of 1200 or something. So India is now is a pioneer, and say in this that this project has been awarded, and now this contracts are going to be signed. And RPO trajectory earlier used to be only for next 3-4 years, now it is up to 2030. So there is a visibility to the all RE developers that there is going to be huge demand in India for renewable energy. And there are separate components for wind energy, there's separate component for hydro energy, others, and we are also going to have, as has been decided by the Minister Saab, that there will also be a separate component for distributed renewable energy in the RPO. They will have to take up projects in rooftop and Kusum. So because that is also one of the important area which brings a lot of jobs, and also it is also economic. There is a big push to hydropower. We are implementing 41 hydro projects, which will have an investment of 1.65 lakh crore. A huge push, and more about 5.7 gigawatt projects are in the investment pipeline. Next slide, please. This is all we have done in the energy efficiency. I think we are now leading G20, and all countries they have very well recognized India's very significant achievement in the area of energy efficiency and conservation. We are saving close to 1.5 lakh crore rupees every year, and reduction in emissions is 268 million tons every year, and this is going to increase continuously. And in this slide, now 44 power plants are doing the biomass co-firing. It was only 8 plants 2 years ago. So a lot of movement has come, and we have come out with a new guideline, which you will also get to know. Now, Ministry of Power has allowed the benchmarking of the price of biomass, these pellets, so that the new industry which will set up the biomass pellets, they are assured of their offtake. So they can set up now biomass co-pellets for industries, and their benchmark price given, you can sell at this price to power plants. So it will see a big boom in this thing, and it will also increase the income of the farmers. My last slide is next. The next, Ministry of Power is continuously working for ensuring adequate capacity addition so that India meets its demand for electricity, for its growth, for improving living standards of our people. Financial sustainability of DISCOM is going to be the main key focus area. Time-bound energy transition, whatever our Honorable Prime Minister has committed, we are now bound to overachieve, and enhancing energy efficiency continuously, like expanding PAT program, the carbon market, and we are also going to take up a very focused program on supporting the MSMEs for energy efficiency technologies. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll request Secretary MNRE to make his presentation. Please display the second presentation. Yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. Honorable Minister and Secretary Power have already covered a lot of topics that which have formed part of my presentation. So I will skip over some of those parts, but let's go to the first slide, please. Next one, please. Yes. This is just to show on as far as data is concerned on how the renewable energy sector has grown. Honorable Minister has already pointed out how we've grown. But if you go even sector-wise, even if, solar, wind, and hydro, you'll see that we were about 76 gigawatts of capacity in 2014. And currently it is 170, so we are 172 if you take only RE. And that's about 100 gigawatts we've added in the last 9 years. We've increased exponentially as far as solar is concerned. See, we were only about 2.8, and now we are 67. Wind, we have grown almost doubled. If you also take the projects under implementation or at the tender stage, 82 gigawatts of projects are under construction. So if you take all that, so if you take the one under construction and one under at the tender stage, we come to about 300 gigawatts of renewable energy projects which are either completed, installed, or under implementation at various stages. We have a target of about 500 gigawatts laid down by Honorable Prime Minister. And so we would like to achieve 300 gigawatts of solar, about 100 gigawatts of wind, and 78 gigawatts of hydro, large and small combined, and about 15 of bioenergy to reach that target. A little balance would come from nuclear as far as this is concerned. So we have now also a very large challenge before us to grow from current, let's say 67 in solar to 300, 4 times. Wind we have to grow from 43 to about 100, again 2.5 times. So we have significant challenges before us, but we are quite sure that we would be able to achieve that. Next slide, please. This is Honorable Minister has already mentioned how we, completed our obligation, NDC obligation 9 years ahead of our target. Now we have a target of doing 50% of our capacity by 2030, and of course net zero by 2070. Next, please. As far as percentage of renewable energy in the energy mix is concerned, if you look at generation, we are at about 22.5% currently. But our estimate is that by 2030, if you look at how we are progressing, we will likely to be at about 43% by 2030. So again, a significant increase is expected from, of course, from the previous 14-15 to 2023. From 20 to 23, again, there's going to be a big jump going forward 7 years. And next, please. If you go look at the solar and wind separately, as I already mentioned, it has increased exponentially in the last 9 years. Next, please. We would like to just mention this here because, one aspect which is often ignored across the world is, if you have so much of, lofty targets do you have the capacities to achieve it, apart from our framework and apart from our, guidelines and so on and so forth? Do you have the wherewithal? Do you have the material to do it? So this is how our solar capacity, as far as the manufacturing capacity, has grown significantly over the last 9 years. And look at what we are trying to do. From 2.4 gigawatts per annum of solar module, we are now at about 25, 27. In fact, we just received an application a few days ago for adding 7 gigawatts. So we should be at around 27, 28 shortly. And from now on, looking at how we have been, incentivizing solar production in the country, we expect to reach about 100 gigawatts by 2030. And hopefully, we should achieve it much earlier than 2030. In solar cell capacity also, we were actually almost zero in 2014. Currently, we are at around 6, 7. But now this is being ramped up significantly in the next couple of years. And by 2026, we will be about 45, 50, and by 2030, we'll be 55. This is as far as if you look at our, the PLI is concerned. But if you take the public announcements, if you talk to the industry, the ones who are putting up plants, while we may have given a particular incentive for a quantum of allocation, actually they are making much more. So what we expect is much more capacities than what is shown here. In wind turbine, we are already self-sufficient. We are at about 15 gigawatts per annum in India, and we expect it to grow to about 25 gigawatts by 2030. As far as, this has, just to mention the tariffs, how the renewable energy tariffs have significantly decreased over the last so many years. Even if you take from 14, 15, of course, earlier it used to be about 11 in 2010, 11. In 14, 15, it was around 6.17. And now, actually, if you look at, that was solar, wind was 3.51, and now they are below 3 per unit. Next, please. Policy reforms. This is how we have traveled. The journey that we've traveled has been because of several initiatives which have been taken. Some have already been pointed out, by Honorable Minister and by Secretary Power. But look at, if you just focus on some of the other ones, standard bidding guidelines for the renewable energy, we have been, the framework that we've set up has evolved from, a government pushed one to a government, a framework that we've made, the bidding guidelines which have become very standard, very, very common in the private sector, and they're being complied to totally. So we have different kinds of bidding guidelines, and we keep amending them based on assessment we've made. We've gone to different kinds of projects, RTC project, hybrid, battery storage, and floating solar. So different kinds of projects have been incentivized, have been implemented in the country, and we are trying to generate more interest as far as this is concerned. A new thing that we've done is we have issued 5-year trajectory for bidding. I think this is one of the significant steps we have taken this year, because if we have to achieve 500, we should be doing something different, because there's a huge gap to fulfill. And now we have come out with a trajectory of 50 gigawatts of bidding every year. Green markets has already been mentioned in the previous presentation, but just to highlight, green markets have increasingly becoming larger as part of the overall power market is concerned. Last year, green transactions were about 7% of the total transactions, and we expect that to grow significantly. As far as the transmission has already been mentioned, so I will not talk more about it, but for offshore wind and for green hydrogen, the ISTS waiver has now been granted for offshore wind till 2032 for all projects which come up till 2032, and for green hydrogen for all projects which will come up by 2030. And when they come up, they will get it for 25 years. That's the point. On the consumption side, if you look at, so of course RPO trajectory has also already been talked about. Two things I wanted to mention. Land has become increasingly an issue as far as going forward on our RE plans are concerned. But so what we are saying is that we are working with states to work out a renewable energy plan in consultation with states of the kind of resources they can pool to allow the expansion to take place, and that's something that we are trying to do. A pooling tariff, uniform pooling tariff is what has been, guidelines have been issued in December, and we're working out on the implementation. That will help the sector going forward. Supply chain I've already mentioned, so I will not dwell too much on it. Next, please. Bidding trajectory, just to give you an indication that, every year we'll do that bidding, and we have 4 renewable energy implementing agencies. We have divided the target. It will be at least 10 gigawatts of wind every year, and that's how it is different from what we were doing earlier. Next, please. Just a snapshot of some of the schemes from the renewable energy perspective. PM Kusum is a significant and a very important scheme of the government. We've sanctioned, we have different components. We have sanctioned out of the total 30.8 gigawatt capacity that we were supposed to, that's the target that we have. We have already sanctioned in component A about 4,800 megawatt. Some demand is now coming in on component A. We are trying to resolve the financing issues through low-cost finance. In component B and C, there's a lot of traction. It is taking time, but there's a lot of traction. About 33 lakh pumps we've already sanctioned. We actually have a pending demand for about 15 lakh pump from the states. So there's huge demand in PM Kusum, which is coming up. Next, please. Rooftop solar, I know we have not achieved the 40 gigawatt target that we had aimed to do, but we are progressing now swiftly towards that. Residential rooftop is gaining traction. We now have a national portal where applications are now flowing steadily, and of course there are also the subsidies also going automatically to the accounts of the consumers, and that's something that we have a significant reform we have done. Next, please. PLI I've already mentioned, but this 24,000 crore that government has invested in PLI will produce results 3 years from now. And not only that, we will not only be self-sufficient in solar capacity, solar manufacturing, we will also become an exporter to the world, and that is something which we feel is a significant step as far as the government is concerned. Next, please. Offshore wind, Honorable Minister had mentioned. This is something that we are coming out. We have done a lot of homework in the last couple of years. Because it's an absolutely brand new sector. We've not yet implemented in India, but a lot of groundwork has been covered. We've done a lot of analysis on off the coast of Tamil Nadu and off the coast of Gujarat, and just a snapshot of what we are trying to do. It will start getting implemented shortly. Next, please. National Green Hydrogen Mission, just to give you a feel of it, 20,000 crore budget. Incentive schemes are just about to be rolled out, which are going to be 17,500 crore of our 20,000 crore budget is the incentive scheme. And using that, we will start getting production capacities not only for electrolyzers manufacturing in India, but also for green hydrogen production, and that is something which is key. A demand aggregation model is also being worked out, because some people feel that where is the demand? But we are working out a demand aggregation model in consultation with other ministries. Pilot projects are being worked out in consultation with 3 ministries. R&D roadmap is just about to be finalized. And standards and regulations, we have done quite a lot of work. And we are also we are just coming out with the definition of green hydrogen shortly. Next, please. Green energy corridor. Yeah, sorry. Yes. I think we skipped one. Can you go back? Okay. Green energy corridor, we have 2 phases of green energy corridor, and overall it will lead to about 20,000 circuit kilometers of transmission lines and 50,000 MVA substation capacity. Phase 1, GEC 1 is about to get over. Within this year, it will be completed within this calendar year, and GEC 2 is just starting. The tendering has actually started by the states. Next, please. Solar parks, it's a very significant step that the government took, and we also, and you know, it's a plug and play model. Increasingly, if the land is going to be an issue as far as going forward is concerned, this kind of a framework is going to be key for taking it forward. And there are some of the very, very large parks, one of the largest parks in the world have come up thanks to this scheme of the government. Next, please. National Bioenergy Program has been launched in November last year, and we have about 858 crore budget in the current phase for not only waste to energy, biomass program, and biogas program. And we are progressing very fast on some of these components. So thank you so much. Just wanted to give you just a snapshot of what the MNR is doing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now the floor is open for questions. Please raise your hand, introduce yourself, and then you can ask questions. So we start with number 79 first, please.
मंत्री जी, ऐसे आसिफ इन दिनों से हमारा सवाल ये है कि ये पावर प्रोजेक्ट को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए पावर फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन, ये पावर को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए पावर फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन नए प्रोजेक्ट को कितना फाइनेंस किया?
फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन ने क्या किया और कितना फाइनेंसिंग किया, तो उसका फिगर्स हम दे देंगे। पावर फाइनेंस कॉरपोरेशन और आरईसी करीब 1 लाख करोड़ सैंक्शन हुआ है।
MK खान, मैं उर्दू डेली से, राब्ता टाइम से। मैं जानना चाह रहा हूँ, तो 9 साल के जो अचीवमेंट है, अभी जो बुक्स दी है उसमें कोई पावर से रिलेटेड,
कीप द माइक एट अ डिस्टेंस,
पावर से रिलेटेड
माइक को थोड़ा आगे रखिए। हाँ, या
पावर से रिलेटेड जो वर्क दिया है इस बुक्स में कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन आपका इसमें प्रेजेंटेशन देख रहा था, इसमें अभी तक सर सोलर पावर से लोग ज़्यादा एफेक्टेड हो रहे हैं और ज़्यादा डिमांड है। क्या गवर्नमेंट कोई ऐसी नई और पॉलिसी ला रही है जो सोलर पावर को और इम्प्रूवमेंट किया जाए? दूसरा ये जो पावर प्रोजेक्ट में अभी तक 9 साल में बाहर की कौन सी कंपनी जितनी इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है, जरा इसके बारे में बताएंगे? तो
देखिए, ये हमारे जो प्रोग्राम्स हैं उसी के कारण ये सोलर एनर्जी में हमारा ये मल्टीप्लिकेशन हुआ है। करीब आप देखे होंगे करीब 30 गुना हो गया है। जिसे 2014 में करीब 2000 मेगावाट के था, आज 67,000 मेगावाट स्थापित हो गया, और अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है ऑलमोस्ट अबाउट 60-70 गीगावाट्स अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है सोलर का। तो हमारा तो सोलर का तो बहुत तेज़ी से हम ग्रो कर रहे हैं, उसमें कहीं हर एक फील्ड में ग्रो कर रहे हैं। अब किस बाहर की कंपनी ने ये इन्वेस्ट किया, ये इसका हम डेटा नहीं रखते हैं, लेकिन आप ये देखिए कि हमने जो कैपेसिटी एडिशन किया है रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी में, वो सबके सब आए हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट से, प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट से। हमने अपना कोई नहीं पैसा लगाया। दुनिया के जितने बड़े फंड्स हैं वो सब यहाँ इन्वेस्टेड हैं, ऑल मेजर फंड्स, डिफरेंट कंपनीज के माध्यम से। कोई कहीं किसी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया है, कोई किसी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट किया है। कुछ कंपनीज डायरेक्टली आई हैं, जैसे कि सिंगापुर का जो सॉवरेन वेल्थ फंड है वो डायरेक्टली भी इन्वेस्ट करती है, लेकिन बाकी सब डिफरेंट कंपनीज के थ्रू इन्वेस्ट कर रही है। तो हम आज ब्लूमबर्ग से कोई कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट है, उनका एक इश्यू में ब्लूमबर्ग ने कहा था कि आज दुनिया में रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के मामले में हम सबसे अट्रैक्टिव मार्केट तो सारा हमारा ये प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट से ही हो रहा है, कैपेसिटी ग्रोइंग। हम सिर्फ बिड करते हैं, कंपटीशन होता है, जो सबसे लो टैरिफ कोट करता है उसको हम ऑर्डर दे देते हैं, वो अपना पैसा लगा करके, अपना इक्विटी, अपना लोन लगा करके उसको स्थापित करता है, वो पावर सप्लाई करता है, हम पावर का पेमेंट उसको होता है।
नंबर 47।
सर मेरा सवाल यह है कि अरुणाचल और असम में अक्सर बारिश के सीजन में बाढ़ जैसी स्थिति हो जाती है, तो खास करके वहाँ पर एक डैम भी बनाया जा रहा है ब्रह्मपुत्रा पे। भारत की तरफ से उसको काउंटर करने के लिए किस तरीके से उपाय किए जा रहे हैं?
एक तो देखिए, बाढ़ पुरानी समस्या रही है आसाम की, और ये बिल्कुल आदिकाल से चली आ रही है। बाढ़ को रोकने के लिए रिजर्वायर्स की बहुत आवश्यकता है। रिजर्वायर होने से फिर बाढ़ का जो ये रैवेज है वो कम हो सकता है, स्पेशली स्टोरेज प्रोजेक्ट्स। तो सुबानसिरी से बाढ़ पर नियंत्रण होगा, उसमें जो स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी है उस पर बाढ़ में नियंत्रण होगा। और जैसे कि और भी हमारे, जैसे कि आप देखे होंगे प्रेजेंटेशन में कि हमारे अभी करीब 18,000 मेगावाट के प्रोजेक्ट्स अभी निर्माणाधीन है, करीब 41 प्रोजेक्ट्स निर्माणाधीन है। उसमें से बहुत सारे बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, एक 2,880 करोड़ का दिबांग है, बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं जो कि स्टोरेज भी है। तो जितने स्टोरेज प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं वो सबसे ये फ्लड का मॉडरेशन होगा, पावर जनरेशन तो होगा ही, इरिगेशन के लिए ही मिलेगा। ये मल्टीपर्पज़ प्रोजेक्ट्स इसको कहते हैं। और जहाँ जहाँ ये हुआ है वहाँ पर हम लोगों ने देखा है कि उससे बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ है। हमने अभी एक स्टडी कराई थी, IITs वगैरह से स्टडी कराई थी, तो उन्होंने देखा कि जहाँ जहाँ हमने बनाया है मल्टीपर्पज़ प्रोजेक्ट्स, वहाँ पर ग्रीनरी बढ़ी है, वाटर टेबल भी बढ़ा है, और लैंडस्लाइड्स और बाढ़ में कमी आई है। जी,
कि बेसिकली चाइना जो है वहाँ पर अपना एक डैम बना रहा है, बहुत बड़ा डैम है,
जानते हैं।
विश्व का सबसे बड़ा डैम बनाया है, ब्रह्मपुत्र जो नदी से कनेक्ट करता हुआ। उसमें खतरा ये है कि उससे फ्लो बहुत ज़्यादा है उसका,
जानते हैं,
और खतरे में ये
इसका हम लोग अवगत हैं।
तो क्या कितने डैम हमारे बन रहे
चाइना के
हैं?
प्लान्स हैं वो, तो उस प्लान से हम लोग अवगत हैं, और उसके हिसाब से हम लोग अपनी तैयारी भी, अपने यहाँ बड़े बड़े स्टोरेज प्रोजेक्ट्स उसी पर बना रहे हैं। सियांग पर वो हमारा पहले से भी प्लान था, और हमारा प्लान आज नहीं शुरू हुआ, हमारा प्लान शुरू हुआ 10-12 साल पहले से हम लोग उस प्लान पर कर रहे थे। हम भी बड़ा स्टोरेज प्रोजेक्ट बना रहे हैं सियांग पर, तो उसके बारे में सर्वेज वगैरह प्रारंभ हुई हैं, और जो वहाँ की सरकार है और वहाँ के लोग हैं उनसे भी चर्चा चल रही है, तो हम लोग अवगत हैं।
125।
और ये बाय एंड लार्ज वहाँ के लोग उसको वेलकम कर रहे हैं। ये जो होगा, जो सियांग पर प्रोजेक्ट होगा, वो हमारा लार्जेस्ट प्रोजेक्ट होगा इंडिया में। और जबकि जो देखे हम लोग जहाँ जहाँ हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाए हैं वहाँ पर जो डेवलपमेंट है वो हम लोगों ने लोगों को दिखाया, वहाँ के लोगों को उनको ले जा करके दिखाया, THC तहरी हाइड्रो वगैरह ले जा करके दिखाया। और जो हम लोगों ने कॉलोनीज वगैरह बनाए थे तो उससे बहुत वो लोग संतुष्ट हो, बोले कि हमारे यहाँ भी जल्दी करिए। और ये सुबानसिरी भी जो हम बना रहे हैं, तो जहाँ जहाँ सबमर्जेंस हो रहा है वहाँ के जो लोगों को के लिए हम जो बना रहे हैं उससे भी लोग संतुष्ट जी।
Sir, Rishi from the Hindu Business Line. I have two questions. Alok sir spoke about the carbon markets and how the government is developing it. So could you tell us more about the carbon markets? And number two, when Mr. Bhalla spoke about land has become a issue, ministries like Morth are facing issues, ministry like Commerce Ministry are facing issues.
Huh?
Land acquisition and land for setting up
Land,
factories
yes.
has been issue. And as more how this pooling of resources will happen, so land will be pooled through
You know
the
what
states.
we have done is number one, we have brought about some changes in the way we implement projects. Earlier, what used to happen was that the projects were be taken up after some developer had won a bid, then he started acquiring the land and then he started the construction. So we've changed that. And we've said that kindly go ahead and acquire land and start construction even before participating in bids. And so completed projects can participate in bids. You need not start a bid only after, start construction only after winning a bid. So take preparatory action, acquire land, you have time, and then start construction and bid. So now the policy is that whenever we hold a bid, all capacity which is not tied up, we are not concerned whether it's old or new, all capacity which is not tied up can bid. So this will enable earlier acquisition of land. It will reduce the pressure, the time pressure which is there for land acquisition, number one. Number two, what this is doing is that this is giving an additional income in the hands of the farmers. For example, in Rajasthan, farmers get approximately 20 to 25,000 rupees per acre per year on an average. In Maharashtra, they are giving 50,000 rupees per acre per year for land for this kusum, because they are solarizing their entire agriculture, the farmers. I believe that they need income, and this problem is something which will get sorted out. We have a huge program, land is necessary, but we have a lot of land which is non-agricultural. We have a lot of non-agricultural land.
Sir, is the government also thinking on where various ministries can collaborate? For example, the Department of Telecom had started this common infra across on the sides of highways where electricity lines and telephone lines could be used.
I know. As far as we are concerned, our land requirements are specific. So, for example, if you have solar, we have a specific land requirement. Now, where you have solar, you can maybe grow some. The farmer can grow some crops like the pulses or potatoes, etc. below that if it is on stilts. But otherwise, below that you can't really do anything. For wind, where you have the windmill, then apart from that, the other windmill has to be sited at some distance away. In between, the cultivation can go on. So agriculture and renewable energy, they go together. But other industries and renewable energy, we'll have to see. About the carbon markets, we have already got the legislation enacted by the Parliament. And so the rules have been drafted, they were circulated for comments, and we have got comments. Now they'll be issued very soon.
90, and then I'm coming to you.
Good afternoon, Shreya from Business Standard. I have two questions. One is on the power distribution sector. Impressive numbers.
On the power?
Distribution sector. Power distribution.
Power distribution.
Discoms,
Go ahead.
basically.
Yeah.
The losses have significantly come down, and so are the dues to the GenCos. However, the recent PFC report indicated that there is an increase in the debt, and also there is an increase in the liquidity crunch also with these power distribution companies.
No, one is the increase in the debt, the other was?
Liquidity crunch. There is liquidity crunch with these power distribution companies. This, in a way, would impact the reforms that the center is trying to push through, say, RDSS.
You see, the person who carried out that study, he did not, or he or she did not apply their mind to it. You see, the debt is taken generally for two reasons. One is for capital investment. Now, what has happened is that from 17 or in fact from 16 onwards, अब लोग कैसे कैसे हैं, दिमाग लगाते नहीं, कुछ लिख डाला साहब, थोड़ा IQ भी तो होना चाहिए. From 16 onwards, in 17 onwards, we've invested almost 2 lakh crores in the distribution sector under the earlier scheme, Deen Dayal Gram Jyoti Yojana, IPDS, etc. Now that scheme, we give 60%, and the 40% is raised by the state as loan. So if you increase capex, your debt will go up. Now that's what has happened. Earlier it had not happened, but we have strengthened the distribution system because of that. Similarly, RDSS. Now we are giving grants, right? Again 60%, but 40% has to come from debt. That's the second thing. The third is that the demand has increased from, peak demand has increased from about 180 gigawatts to about 223 gigawatts. So you are buying more electricity, right? And you need, this is called finance, for operations. Current, that's the current debt for buying electricity on a regular basis. So all of them have debt lined up, which they draw from to buy electricity on a current basis. So that's a working capital requirement. So you need to buy coal, you need to buy electricity. So that's a working capital requirement. Now, as our power sector expands, and we invest more capital, and as the demand increases, so we buy more coal, etc., etc., the working capital requirements increase. So it will increase. The point is not that. The point is the viability. Whether you are making returns, whether you are making margins. That's the point. तो अब लोगों को क्या चाहता है, दिमाग से कुछ लिख डाला साहब कि हाँ डेट इंडेटेडनेस बढ़ गया साहब. अब हम किसको कहें, किसको, आई सॉ दैट. अब हम किसको कहें, किसको समझाएं, वो हमारे सामने तो है कि नहीं कि मैं बता भी दूं कि साहब थोड़ा स्टडी कर लो. चलिए सर.
Number 10.
No, the fate, what do you mean by fate? I mean, it was introduced. At the time it was introduced, there's a massive halla, you saw in the parliament. But doesn't matter. So we had decided even earlier that we shall send it to the standing committee because it's in the concurrent list. So we've, even the previous amendments had gone to the standing committee, so we sent it to the standing committee. So the standing committee is finalizing its recommendations. They will come and we shall pass it. There's no doubt about that. And you see, all this halla is why? All this halla was because they felt, I mean, these some political parties felt that this might circumscribe their ability to give freebies, free electricity, the 100 units free, 200 units free, or 50 paise power at 1 rupee per unit, etc., etc. Yahi to karke, yes, that's how they get elected, by giving freebies. So they felt, that this might circumscribe my power to give freebies. Padhte nahi, they don't read it. So I said, you read it, it doesn't do that. You can give subsidy, whatever, to anybody you want. You will have to pay for the power, otherwise your power will get cut off. So that will happen. You see, we've already, despite all this, Shreya, all this halla, all these articles, in the past 2-3 decades, nothing had happened in the power sector. हमने तो कर डाला साहब, हमने तो कर डाला. I have already changed it. Already my power sector is viable. Already we have put in place a system whereby you don't pay, the power gets cut off. Chaliye, next.
No, number 10 now, please. Number 10. We have number.
सर, संजय शर्मा हूं मैं आज तक से. मेरे दो सवाल हैं. एक तो प्रधानमंत्री जी की अमेरिका यात्रा चल रही है जिसमें बहुत सारे प्रोटोकॉल टूट रहे हैं. इसके साथ ही भारत और अमेरिका के बीच टाइज मजबूत हो रही हैं.
हमारा मामला नहीं है.
वीजा रिलैक्सेशन हो रहा है.
आप लिखा हुआ क्वेश्चन मत पढ़िए.
ये भारत के बढ़ते पावर का प्रतीक है. तो पावर सेक्टर को कितना फायदा मिलेगा इस पूरे टाइज से? हाँ, इस पूरे जो संधियां हो रही हैं,
पहला लिखा हुआ बंद कर दीजिए.
उसमें पावर सेक्टर को कितना फायदा मिलेगा, इसके बारे में? पावर सेक्टर को
इस विजिट से?
हाँ, भारत का बढ़ता पावर तो दिख रहा है, लेकिन
पहले ये बताइए कि पावर सेक्टर में बहुत चेंज आया है ना 2014 के बाद? नहीं आया.
आगे क्या होने वाला है
आगे
अमेरिका
यात्रा से?
ये
एक्नॉलेज कीजिए. नंबर 1, ये तो हम बोलवा देंगे आपसे. चेंज तो हुआ ही है, सब बदल दिया. दूसरा ये है कि इस विजिट में बाय एंड लार्ज यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के साथ हमारी पहले से वार्ता चल रही थी अपना ऑन पार्टनरशिप इन हाइड्रोजन, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन. तो ये मेरी आशा है कि ये आगे बढ़े ताकि हम लोग कोलैबोरेट करें ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन और ग्रीन अमोनिया पर. दूसरा, हम लोगों का मत एक है. आंसर इन हिंदी इज फाइन और इंग्लिश, either way. Now, so there's a convergence of views and interests insofar as supply chain is concerned. Now, both of us are concerned about the supply chain, both for storage and also for solar PV, right, and wind. Now, so both of us are desirous of building up our supply chain, so we work on that. We are working on that. Already a lot of exports has started happening from India to the United States of panels, etc. As we add capacity, those exports will grow. because diversification will happen. The whole world wants a diversification. Up till now, about 80%, 90% of the manufacturing capacity is located in one country. We are changing that. And the United States also wants to change that. Yeah. So there's a convergence. And that convergence embraces not only India and the United States, that convergence embraces the rest of the world. Everybody wants it. Yeah.
Number 61. 61.
मंत्री जी नमस्कार।
हाँ,
मैं
थोड़ा माइक अलग रखिएगा।
हाँ हाँ मैं मेरे को पता है। मैं ये जानना चाह रहा हूँ कि हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट में त्रिपुरा में कितने हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट आप आगे मतलब इसको ले जाएंगे? और दूसरी बात है कि
त्रिपुरा में कोई हमारा निर्माणाधीन हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट तो है नहीं।
तो
अब ये लेकिन एक चीज है, ये अगर पोटेंशियल होगा तो उसको जरूर हम लोग वहां बनाएंगे।
वो तो मुझे मालूम है, सुवर्णसिरी से भी नहीं आएगा त्रिपुरा की सुवर्णसिरी प्रोजेक्ट से भी है वो ये
सुवर्णसिरी
जहाँ पे आपका ये
सुवर्णसिरी वहाँ बन रहा है ना सुवर्णसिरी,
तो वहाँ से भी नहीं आ सकता है।
क्या
वहाँ से भी
वो तो त्रिपुरा में नहीं, अरुणाचल में है ना जी।
तो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ वहाँ से भी नहीं आ सकता है।
कौन सी?
जी नहीं सुवर्णसिरी प्रोजेक्ट से भी पावर नहीं आ सकता है।
अरे पावर तो सुवर्णसिरी प्रोजेक्ट से पूरे इंडिया में जा सकता है साहब, आप क्या बात करते हैं?
आपने बोल दिया ना त्रिपुरा में हो ही नहीं सकता है।
कौन चीज?
हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट।
साहब तो दूसरा आदमी से पूछिए।
ठीक है, नंबर 255।
अच्छा दूसरी बात मेरे को बताइए,
हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट
त्रिपुरा में
आप ये समझिए जनाब, सुनिए, पावर कहीं जनरेट हो, चाहे हाइड्रो हो, चाहे सोलर हो, चाहे थर्मल हो, चाहे विंड हो, हम ट्रांसमिशन से पूरे देश को कनेक्ट कर दिए हैं। झारखंड में जनरेट हो रहा है, झारखंड में मिल रहा है, ऐसा बात नहीं है। झारखंड से पावर जाता है कर्नाटक, जाता है महाराष्ट्र, है ना? तो ऐसे ही जहाँ पर हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट का पोटेंशियल है वहीं बनेगा, वहाँ से पावर जहाँ जरूरत है वहाँ जाएगा। अब दूसरा सवाल पूछिए।
मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि जो ट्रांसमिशन लाइन अगर इतना ही बेहतर है तो त्रिपुरा की हालत इतना खराब क्यों है, जबकि त्रिपुरा बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट है? और दूसरी बात है
क्या है,
त्रिपुरा में हालत क्यों खराब है?
त्रिपुरा में क्या हालत खराब है निकालिए तो भाई त्रिपुरा का।
और सबसे बड़ी बात है,
एक मिनट सुन लीजिए, आप सवाल पूछ के भाग नहीं सकते, सुन लीजिए आप।
नहीं
त्रिपुरा में क्या है? अरे जवाब तो सुनो।
ये भी सुन लीजिए, एयरपोर्ट में भी बत्ती नहीं रहता है।
अरे जवाब सुनिए।
थैंक यू।
चलिए, त्रिपुरा क्या स्थिति है बताइए।
त्रिपुरा के लॉसेस भी कम हुए हैं 4% एक साल में, और त्रिपुरा की
4% लॉस कम हो गया।
त्रिपुरा की आपूर्ति अच्छी है, जो हमारे पास रिपोर्ट्स हैं। त्रिपुरा की
बता दीजिए।
नहीं, त्रिपुरा की लॉसेस के मेरे पास के आपूर्ति के स्टेट वाइज आंकड़े नहीं है, लेकिन त्रिपुरा में अच्छी आपूर्ति की हमारे पास जानकारी है, आपको हम आंकड़े दिलवा दें।
ठीक है, चलिए।
और 255 नेक्स्ट 4 नंबर 4 या प्लीज।
Hello sir, this is Rituraj from Mint. So you have been telling about this for offshore wind, the bid would come for Tamil Nadu initially. So what's the timeline for that? You have said it would come soon. And regarding the
it will come
VGF,
soon. We've got some preliminary surveys done, but detailed surveys still to be done. So there are two parts to it. One is that we shall bid out on the basis of VGF. Now that part, that is 500 megawatts. That part of which will bid out on the basis of VGF will carry out a detailed survey. That our institutions will carry out a detailed survey and then we shall bid. That will take me approximately 18 to 24 months. And thereafter the bid will be carried out. There are other parts where we will allow the developer himself or herself, the entity, developer entity to carry out the survey and then develop the project. So for that we will come out with bids very soon. So that will happen in another 2-3 months. I think we should have the bid.
And the VGF bid would be from 24 months from now.
And similarly, Gujarat, the situation is slightly different. In Gujarat, we've already carried out detailed surveys for about 1,000 megawatts. Now, so that we shall, out of that 500 we shall bid out on the VGF. And in Gujarat also we have blocks which we shall let out to the developers on a bid, transparent bid, for carrying out surveys and thereafter constructing capacity. Next.
Number 4, yeah.
Sir, Pranav Prakhar from Vision Television. I have two questions. One is the capacity that is under construction. for the capacity,
Mic alag, हाँ.
for the capacity that is under construction, what is the breakup of that? I understand solar is significant and the hydel is next after solar. What is the other breakup for that?
वो दे देते हैं.
And second question is, only yesterday, Elon Musk had a interaction with our Prime Minister, and he, in his, after the interaction with the Prime Minister, he told that he is interested in, more interested in what you call battery storage power. So he has the ministry got any indication from his company in the storage segment? And if at all, is there any interest in that storage segment? Because I understand that in storage segment you are working.
Concerned. We want investment in storage, right? Now, some investment is happening. Some investment is happening because of the PLI, which was issued by the Department of Heavy Industry. Now, the people who won the PLI, they are mostly manufacturing storage for EVs, but one of the developers, I believe, is also manufacturing storage for grid scale storage. So that is one. The second is that some further bids will happen. Whether the bids will be conducted by DHI or by NRE is an open question. But those bids will be specifically for grid scale storage. Now we need grid scale storage. We need storage because we are adding such huge quantities of renewable energy, and we want round-the-clock renewable energy. If we want to go to net zero, we have to have round-the-clock renewable energy. So that's our mission. So that is battery storage, and apart from battery storage, we also have pumped storage. So pumped storage also large capacity is already under construction, about 4,000 odd megawatts is already under construction. And the Central Electricity Authority has already received about 23 proposals for additional pumped hydro.
30,000 megawatt proposals
are there. So storage is a major requirement. Our estimate was that by 2030 we'll need about 377 gigawatt hours of storage. That was, we are a huge country, so we'll need that. So that was, storage was one question. The second was the breakup of our capacity under construction. So as far as the thermal is concerned, I already told you, 51,000 megawatts of thermal. Hydro, I already told you, 18,000 megawatts of hydro is under construction. Then as far as solar is concerned, it's 96,000 if you take both capacity under bid and capacity under construction. Now capacity under construction is 51,000 megawatts. And the capacity which has been tendered is 44,000 megawatts. Wind, and the capacity which is under construction is 13,000 megawatts. And under tender is 1,000 megawatts. So the hydro I already told you. Yeah? There is no fossil component. Fossil I told you 51,000 megawatts.
Number 24.
Plain and simple.
Number 24.
So
and let me tell you this. I mean, nobody talks to me about fossil or coal capacity. You know why? For two reasons. Number one, I declared upfront that as far as energy security is concerned, as far as the availability of energy for my requirements is concerned, I am not going to compromise. Full stop. Right? Number one. Number two, my reply is that look, coal is just one form of fossil. I have coal, so I use coal. You have gas, so you use gas, or you import gas. Somebody has shale, they use shale. That's also fossil. You burn that, you also get carbon dioxide. So let's not talk about coal or anything like that. Talk about fossil and non-fossil. Now, if you talk about fossil and non-fossil, I am a leader. I am a leader because I have one of the fastest growing non-fossil capacities in the world. If you are talking about emissions, my per capita emissions are 1/3 of the global average. My per capita emissions are 2 tons of CO2. The world average is 6.3 tons of CO2, right? Despite that, we are a world leader insofar as reduction of emissions is concerned. We achieved our NDCs 9 years in advance. तो यही तो हमने कहा था कि कोई अब हमसे बात नहीं करता है. They are always on the defensive.
Number 24.
Because we've already done it. Yeah.
10.24.
Sir, here.
Yes.
So this is Shalini Sharma from PSU Watch. Here.
Yeah.
Towards the center, yeah. Sir, apart from whatever thermal power capacity is under construction, going forward, are we going to add new thermal power plants to the energy?
If required, I will. If required, I will. I mean, get it absolutely clear. You know, what happened in the world was that before Ukraine, everybody was talking about energy transition. We are a leader in energy transition, despite the fact that our per capita emissions are lowest in the world. Then suddenly the Ukraine happened and disruption, gas supplies started, and then everybody started talking about energy security. And then the developed world said that energy security is primary. We always believed that. I also believe that energy security is primary. I also believe that. So my energy security is primary, full stop.
This is 124. Yes.
And we shall do whatever it takes. Our growth rate is, our economy will continue growing. We are growing at 7.2%. That's the fastest in any major economy. Largest, any large economy, we are growing at the fastest rate. We shall continue growing at the fastest rate. And this is not possible unless and until there is electricity. It's my job to make sure that there's enough electricity to power that growth. Without electricity, you don't have any growth, right? Because electricity powers everything. It's my job to make sure that that growth is powered. It will be powered.
124, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Shilpa Samant from Economic Times. India wants to be an export hub for green hydrogen. But as you already mentioned, some developed countries are giving huge subsidies. And also there is no standard currently on the definition as well as, the output of carbon from the production of each kg of hydrogen. So unless that happens, what is the fate of, the green hydrogen projects for us?
Yeah, this is a real world actually. This is a real world. In the real world, everybody looks after their interests. I understand that. We have been hearing lectures for the past many decades from developed countries about how free trade is actually very good for the world. But when it comes to the interests, their interests, then certainly that free trade takes a back seat and it's protectionism. It happens. We have to live with it. But we believe that ultimately the economic realities will prevail. If we are capable of making green hydrogen, green ammonia at the cheapest prices in the world, then they'll have to come to us. They'll have to buy from us. Otherwise, their goods will not be competitive. That is a given. And as far as standards are concerned, we've drafted standards. We are circulating that. And we have had, in our discussions with our interlocutors from developed countries, we have said that standards are essential and we need to have harmonize on standards. Here again, as they said, there hangs a tail. Now, I felt that, we used to hear dialogue about how necessary it is to go to net zero and totally green and things like that. Now, suddenly, the narrative is sought to be changed, and now the narrative is sought to be made that actually, why totally green, why not, low carbon, whatever. So my question is, what is low carbon? What do you, if you're talking about entirely green, India will have a competitive advantage. So talk about low carbon so that you can make it from gas. Natural gas, and then maybe use CCUS. Unfortunately, the CCUS is also not commercially proven as yet. So if they actually want to transition, they'll have to go green like us, or they will have to buy green hydrogen from us.
So
Number two,
just
real world.
question on solar rooftop. We mentioned that, we will be accelerating solar rooftop projects, but could you tell us what are the steps, because they have been, sort of lagging for a while now?
They have?
Sort of been,
solar rooftop, I think,
solar
rooftop, we think that the speed can be faster. And number one, we are trying to, put in place ease of doing business for putting up solar. So we changed the way things were operating. Now we put it all on the net. So anybody wants to set up a solar panel, they can go to that site. Now there they will get a list of all the developers which are impaneled. And we have told all the states to impanel the developers in large numbers. We have made that also easy, empanelment of developers. The idea is to have as many developers as possible. So he will select a developer. That developer will come and set up the capacity. Once that capacity is set up, then that report will be uploaded on the net, and the subsidy will get released automatically. So that it ease of living. That has resulted in the large numbers of applications coming, but we still find that many states have very small number of vendors. Some of the larger states, for example, Uttar Pradesh, has only not even 100 vendors or something like that. So there we need more and more vendors. This is in the initial stages. There used to be, there still is, some hesitation in the DISCOMs in net metering, because they felt that they were losing the better paying consumer. A consumer who can afford to set up a rooftop is actually a better paying consumer. So they felt that they were losing that. But by and large, it's taking off.
Number 22. Yeah.
You see, there's no, the availability of power it matches the demand. The shortage is only 0.2%, which is one of the lowest ever in the history of the power sector. And this also is because of technical reasons. That's it. So we are meeting whatever the demand is, and we shall continue to do so, despite the fact that the demand is hovering around, has gone up. The max demand is now 223 gigawatts, which is huge. But we are meeting it. Yeah.
On number 123.
And I mean, so we are totally prepared.
Yeah,
And we'll meet it even if it goes up to 230, 231. We'll meet it.
Number 123. Yes.
सर, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने भी कई बार रेवरी कल्चर की चर्चा की है.
कई बार?
रेवरी कल्चर.
हाँ, रेवरी कल्चर. हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
और आपने भी फ्री बिजली इसकी चर्चा की है. तो ये अभी तक पूरे देश में कितने मेगावाट या गीगावाट या किलोवाट बिजली इसमें अभी जा रही है, और इससे कितना नुकसान हो रहा है?
इससे कितना? अच्छा, ये कितना मेगावाट जा रही है?
करीब हमारे जो पूरा टर्नओवर है पावर सेक्टर का करीब 6.5 लाख करोड़ है, और सब्सिडी जो दी जाती है फ्री बिजली पे जो दिया गया करीब, जैसे मैंने 1.5 लाख करोड़ है. आप लगा लीजिए करीब करीब 20 से 25% है.
सब्सिडी में
सब्सिडाइज्ड है पावर, करीब करीब
25% बिजली ये सब्सिडी में जा रही है. उसमें बताते हैं क्या. तो 25% बिजली जो सब्सिडी में जा रही है, उसमें से बहुत कुछ तो है जहां पर कि जो गरीब लोग हैं उनको कम दाम पर बिजली दी जाती है. वो मेरे ख्याल से जायज़ है कि हाँ साहब, सो जो गरीब आदमी है उससे आप 3 रुपये पर यूनिट ले लीजिए, और जो अमीर आदमी है उसे 4 रुपये पर यूनिट ले लीजिए. ये क्रॉस सब्सिडी है, ये जायज़ है. उसमें तो मोटा मोटी अब 3 रुपये से और ज़्यादा कम करिएगा तो फिर क्रॉस सब्सिडी के अलावे आपको सब्सिडी देना पड़ेगा. तो हम लोग का ये मानना है, जैसे हमने साफ कहा है कि देखिए साहब, कोई बिजली फ्री नहीं. आप अगर ये कहते हैं कि नहीं साहब, तो हम अपने स्टेट में इन लोगों को हम फ्री बिजली देंगे, तो आपको उसको लिए भुगतान करना पड़ेगा. ये लेकिन जो पॉलिसी है फ्री बिजली देने की पॉलिसी, इसके दो ये खामियाजा हैं. दो इसके जो आउट ऑफ शूट्स होते हैं, दो रिजल्ट्स हैं, 2 रिजल्ट आते हैं. एक तो आप बिजली फ्री कर दीजिए तो वो इरिस्पॉन्सिबल हो जाता है. अर्थात हम पंप चला रहे, हमको इरिगेशन करना है तो हमने पंप चला दिया, हम जाकर के सो गए. नेट रिजल्ट हुआ कि जितने पानी की ज़रूरत थी इरिगेशन के लिए उससे ज़्यादा पानी हम इस्तेमाल कर लिए, तो हमारा ग्राउंड वाटर नीचे चला गया, एरिडिफिकेशन हो गया, जैसे पंजाब में हुआ और दूसरे स्टेट्स में भी हो रहा है. तो एक तो ये गलती हो गई, गड़बड़ी हो गई, बिजली वेस्ट हुआ, और साथ ही साथ हमने अपने इसको भी खराब कर दिया, अपने धरती को भी खराब कर दिया. या पंखा चल रहा है, हम बाहर हैं क्योंकि फ्री है बिजली. एक तो ये खामियाजा है. दूसरा है इसमें समस्या कि जहाँ पर फ्री देते हैं टोटली, कि साहब आप लोन लेके फ्री दे रहे हैं. अभी हमने स्टडी कराई थी, जबकि देखा हमने कि यहाँ पर ये केजरीवाल जी ने कहा 200 यूनिट फ्री बिजली हम देते हैं, हमको इसका ये टेक्नोलॉजी मालूम है. तो हमने स्टडी करवाया, क्या टेक्नोलॉजी है साहब, ज़रा स्टडी करें. ज़्यादातर स्टेट्स, उसमें दिल्ली भी शामिल है, ज़्यादातर स्टेट्स ये फ्री बिजली देने के लिए लोन लेती है, यानी कि इसको हिंदी में कहावत है ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पीवेत। तो आप लोन लेकर के आप फ्री भी दे रहे हैं ताकि हम सत्ता में चले आवे। लोन का भुगतान तो आने वाले पीढ़ियों को करना होगा, लोन का भुगतान तो करना होगा। अब कुछ स्टेट्स की ऐसी हालत हो गई है कि जो पहले वो लोन लिए थे उसके भुगतान करने के लिए भी वो लोन ले रहे हैं, और आज फ्री भी दे रहे हैं तो उसके लिए भी लोन ले रहे हैं। तो अब वो लोन ले करके लोन का रिपेमेंट कर रहे हैं, इसका मतलब कि डेट ट्रैप में आ गए। और हमने यही लोगों से कहा कि साहब देखिए ये इरिस्पॉन्सिबल है, आप लोन ले करके मुफ्त खोरी का ये रेवड़ी बांटते हैं, आने वाले जो पीढ़ियां हैं उस राज्य के उसको तो भुगतान करना होगा। अभी ही यह हालत हो गई है कि जितना रेवेन्यू रिसीट है राज्यों का, ज़्यादातर राज्यों का हम स्टडी किए तो उससे सिर्फ वेतन, पेंशन और पूर्व में जो लोन लिए उसका इंटरेस्ट का भुगतान होता है। और थोड़ा बहुत कहीं कहीं थोड़ा सा अगर एक दो ऑनगोइंग स्कीम का हुआ तो हुआ, नहीं तो वो भी नहीं। बाकी सभी खर्चों के लिए उनको ऋण लेना पड़ता है। आइए फ्री भी देते हैं उसके लिए ऋण लेना पड़ता है, और जो रेवेन्यू है उसका लार्ज पार्ट चला जाता है उसका ऋण के पेमेंट में। तो अब ये डेट ट्रैप में सभी स्टेट्स आ गए, ज़्यादातर स्टेट्स आ गए। ये चिंता की बात है हम लोग के लिए, और ये ऐसे नेताओं, ये रिस्पॉन्सिबल नेताओं के कारण चिंता की बात है। ये सोचता है कि हम किसी तरह से ये बांट करके फ्री भी हम चले आए सत्ता पे, और सत्ता में क्या करता है वो तो खैर कुछ कहने बताने की जरूरत ही नहीं। और बाद में हमारे बाद देखेंगे कि हाँ साहब ये बिजली खरीदने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, तो देखा जाएगा बाद में। अब तो यही देखता है। चलिए
नंबर 37.
Hello, Jacob Koshi from The Hindu. Am I audible, sir?
Jacob
Koshi from The Hindu. Am I audible? Yes. So earlier this month, there was a report by the Central Electricity Authority. So one of the things it mentioned was that by 2026 or 2027, you will have 67% of non-fossil based capacity.
No, that's not correct. By 2030, we'll have about 65%.
I'll just clarify that number. Yeah, 57.4% by the end of 2026-27. And it will increase to 68.4% by 31-32. Now, isn't that very ambitious? Because our global target itself is 50% non-fossil by 2030.
Our global target is?
50%
of our capacity. That's the NDC which we have pledged.
Yes, but this is
50%.
57% by 26-27. So, isn't that is that a realistic estimate is what I wanted to understand?
Huh?
Is that a realistic estimate is what I wanted to understand?
You see, basically what we have estimated is that by, what we have, our target for ourselves is 500 gigawatts by 2030. Now, if you have 500 gigawatts by 2030, my assessment is that by 2030, our total installed capacity would be about 800 gigawatts. Now, 500 gigawatts out of 800 gigawatts is in the region of about 65%, right? So that's my estimate. That's what it will be by 2030. What we have pledged is something less in our NDCs. What we have pledged in our NDCs is that by 2030, 50% of our capacity will be by non-fossils. Now, so if my capacity is going to be 800 gigawatts in 2030, and 800 I think is a fair number. But the Central Electricity Authority has given me a figure of 775, But my figure is about 800. In fact, it will cross 800. That's my assessment. I don't agree with the C. I find it a bit conservative. So 800, 50% of 800 is 400 gigawatts. I will do that. You see, as I said, the figures which Bhupender gave you, he'll read out again. The capacity under, bata do, capacity which has been constructed and under construction is how much?
172 non-fossil, 179 is constructed, 144 is under construction, implementation at various stages. So 323
323 to hamara already ho gaya. So I will achieve it, and I will still be a leader. हमारे जैसा fast speed से this is a new India. You see, we are a different country today. We are a new India. We remain ahead of our targets, though not the old India.
सर आई एम दीपाली फ्रॉम CNBC आवास. मेरे दो सवाल है. पहला सवाल ये कि व्हाट आर द स्टेप्स बीइंग टेकन टू रिड्यूस द स्टोरेज कॉस्ट इन RE सेक्टर. और PLI स्कीम की बात करें तो लार्ज ग्रिड के लिए, स्टोरेज के लिए कब तक वी कैन एक्सपेक्ट PLI?
Now, as far as reducing the costs are concerned, there are only two ways. This is again something which I speak to all the developed countries about. And I tell them that, look, if you had been serious about energy transition, you would have added manufacturing capacity. Unfortunately, the overall global manufacturing capacity, the overall price of storage, influenced by the overall capacity. The overall manufacturing capacity globally is very small. I don't think it's more than about 900 gigawatt hours or something like that. ज़्यादा नहीं है. So we have to set up capacity ourselves, number one. That is required. If you don't set up capacity, the prices will not come down. That's why I have been talking about PLI for grid scale storage. That is necessary. The other storage is the pumped hydro. Yes. The PLI, hopefully soon, which will have grid scale storage. The other, hopefully soon. I have discussed this with Niti Aayog. I have, Ministry of Finance. Everybody I have discussed this with. So it will come out soon. They all understand that the next PLI has to be about grid scale storage. That is one. The second is about pumped hydro. Now, pumped hydro, we've already come out with a policy, which is a very forward-looking policy, and that has resulted in large capacities coming up and being planned. So, as Alok told you, already about 30,000 megawatts of pumped hydro capacity have come up to the Central Electricity Authority for approvals. Now, that also happens that price, pumped hydro is already at 5 rupees. It will come down a bit further. Battery storage is at 10 rupees. The bid which Alok mentioned to you in his presentation, 1000 megawatt hours, that is the 10 rupees per unit. Storage per kilowatt hour. So that, if we add volumes, it will come down. Pumped hydro will also come down further. So it will come down. And we've also added storage as a part of our RPO to create the demand. So my guarantee to everybody is set up storage capacity, we shall give you the demand. The market is there. We are creating the market. That's what we are doing. So one of your questions was about storage. The other was about? The same, yeah.
256. Next, 104. 269. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
अब हो गया एक दो क्वेश्चन और? हाँ, 2-3 questions. Then okay, you also.
Hello, sir. Gautam this side from ETV Bharat.
Huh?
Gautam Debroy from ETV Bharat. We all know what happened with 2000 megawatt lower Subansiri hydropower project. The work for that project was stopped for last several years. Would like to know what is the present status of this project when lower Subansiri. When we can see the project start functioning, and sir, what actions you are taking to stop recurrence?
एक यूनिट हमारा कमीशन कब हो जाएगा? One unit is going to be commissioned in December.
First unit December 23. And second units maybe after 2 months. So
and sir, we know the reasons behind the failure,
behind the.
We know the reason what caused the functioning of this, stopping the functioning of this project. What actions you would take to stop recurrence of this kind of problem in other power projects?
No, don't say there's no failure. There's a construction challenges. When you build a dam on a major river, there are always some challenges.
लोग हम बताते हैं. देखिए सर, हुआ क्या? All of us, from our country, we must realize what happens, what was happening. Now you have the developed world who exploited 80%, 90% of their hydro capacity. सबने कर लिया. हमारे यहाँ when we started, then a lot of NGOs were propped up. To start protesting against it, that this will kill the environment, this is against the environment, etc. That's what happened. Then later on, people realized कि नहीं साहब से ये तो वैसे ही सगुफा इन्होंने तो अपना तो बना लिया. So that I died out. Now, Subansiri got delayed by 6-7 years because of that. ये जो NGOs हैं, 6-7 years because of that. अभी सभी लोग almost every country is going towards nuclear power because it's clean. Now, when we started our Kudam Kulam, You had agitations. I was Home Secretary at that time. I only started investigating. I asked my agencies to investigate as to where the funding is coming from, and the agitations died out. That's all. So we have to understand it.
No, we'll just
This is
take
a world, hard world.
we'll just take two more questions, number 2 and number 102.
Hi, sir. I'm Shweta Goswami, this side, from Money Control. So I have two questions. One on solar. Given the steep targets that have been given to REIAs, that is 50 gigawatt per year, the steep targets that have been given to the CPSEs for solar bidding, how are we planning to bridge the gap in terms of manufacturing? Because despite the PLI and the push, we still are going to have a gap between the solar cells, modules, and what is available, and are we going to push imports?
Question. Very good question.
And
I'll tell you.
I have another one on wind.
One by one?
Yeah, okay.
One by one. You can ask me the other question. You see, there is a great question. A capacity mismatch. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. We want Make in India. We want Make in India. And we also want to add capacity. So it's a challenge. The good thing is that we already have 25,000 megawatts installed. Not all that 25,000 megawatts is actually grid scale. Because if the efficiency is below 19%, we won't use it. Nobody will use it. So if you are talking about 21% plus, then it will be less than 25,000 megawatts. Then it will be, I think, more than about 15,000 megawatts approx. But we have another about 47,000 megawatts under construction. Now, I was told that the two PLIs, 8,700, and the other was about 3,900, 39 gigawatts, 39,000 megawatts, 47,000 megawatts. So I have been told that it will take about a year. So we have a challenge for a year. Done. You say. Next.
So is any relaxation being planned for imports?
No, but basically our government's intention, our government's determination is Make in India. Yeah. So it is a challenge. We want Make in India. We want Make in India. ये हम लोगों ने इतना capacity लगा लिया. The bulk of it came from modules from outside. We want to change that. देखते हैं, let us see.
Sir, in wind, is there...
But at the same time, I mean, one more message must go out. At the same time, I am not going to allow profiteering. So it should not happen that the domestic industry feels that now I have a closed market, because virtually we have sort of give them protection, and that I can use that protection to charge extraordinary prices. We will not allow that. If that happens, we'll take corrective measures. You can write that.
Right.
So till so long as I feel that the prices are honest and fair, the market barrier will be there. When I feel that the prices are exploitative, then I'll remove the barriers. Because the people of India are not going to pay for anybody's profiteering. Next question.
So for wind, right now we have around 10 manufacturing of wind parts and equipment, turbines and all. Is there any PLI being planned or proposed for wind as well?
Abhinay, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Question? Last question, 102, last question, please.
Hello, sir. I am Abhishek from Press Trust of India. So my question to you is, what amount of capacities our PSUs like NTPC, NHPC are building in neighboring countries like Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Bangladesh? So because
in Bangladesh, NTPC has just commissioned, partly commissioned a plant already. In Sri Lanka, the NTPC has a project which is going to be expedited. That will be a renewable energy. Yeah, that will be a renewable energy project. So that's being expedited. And Nepal, we have a hydro project.
Around 4,000 to 5,000 megawatt is being
hydro projects under construction.
So my second question is, we had anticipated a demand of 230 gigawatt this time, but since we have got early rains, so
we have 223 now max.
Yes, sir. So are we still expecting that anticipated?
When the rains stop, then we shall see. Maybe September we shall see.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Friends will share media brief and these presentations. And,
So
you know,
you have all earned your lunch.
yes, I'll also
Please come
request
and
you
join us for lunch.
to join us on the 4th floor for lunch. 4th floor, we have lunch. Please. Thank you so much.